Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Loretta McNary Show. Did you know that millions of children log on to the internet every day to learn, to connect, and play? But in that same exact digital space, predators are searching for opportunities to exploit them. My guest today has spent more than 3 decades working to stop that from happening. Detective Tony Godwin is a veteran investigator with Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force and has helped lead thousands of investigations targeting online predators. His work is now being featured in the A&E series called Predator Hunters, which gives viewers access inside the complex operations used to identify and arrest predators operating online. Everybody welcome my guest and thank him, Detective Tony Godwin, for the work he does every day, he and his team. Hello, welcome, Detective.
Good morning. Thank you so much for your time. I'm very appreciative.
I would have this conversation gladly every day. It's so necessary. So, you've
Yeah.
spent more than 30 years investigating these crimes. How serious is the threat of online predators today, still with access and parents, being watchful and hopeful that their children aren't a victim?
Yeah, this is a serious crime. It has been since I came into the unit, and it's still a serious crime. Parents need to be really vigilant about what they're doing, really intentional and leaning in and paying attention to what their kiddos are doing, whether it's just social media, whether it's gaming, whatever it may be. If they're online, they're very susceptible to child exploitation. And I don't think, unfortunately, it's never going away. So we need to stay on top of it.
Absolutely, because parents are thinking that their children would never ever talk to a stranger. We've heard stranger danger in person, but are we less urgent about the stranger danger online? And what have you seen that predators? How do they build trust online with the children?
Yeah, that's a really good question. At the end of the day, like children want to be accepted no matter what they're in. They may not know who they're talking to. They may not know that that person is a predator that's trying to get a hold of them for some sort of gratification. So it happens very rapidly in terms of grooming. Like those predator types will know every issue. They'll have an answer to every little problem, no matter how small it is for a kiddo online, and they'll have answers to every question that they might have, no matter what. And so at the end of the day, the problem is there. This is a very real situation. Nothing we do in an undercover capacity is off the rails. Everything that we do in that situation is based on what we know really happens to real kids. And so it's always better for us to go out there on the ICAC task force posing as a child so that if that offender finds somebody, they find me versus a real kid.
Whew, okay. It is so much to take in because I've seen some of the B-roll that you all shared with me of you're actually going undercover. So your work often involves going undercover in digital spaces where predators believe no one is watching. What does that process look like? You kind of alluded to it just a second ago. Can you give us more detail?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, it's something I do every single day. I was doing it last night, as I was sitting at home watching the news. At the end of the day, this is a 24/7 job. And me putting myself out there, um, it doesn't take long. These predatory types hit on kids all the time. They hit on my undercover profiles, and it just begins a conversation. Now, it happens a lot much faster online than it does in a real life kind of situation. So, um, that's what I think one of the things with this show is that the parents are going to realize is just how quickly these things escalate, just how bold and brazen some of these predators are, some of the language that they use. It's the most disgusting and disturbing, like just terrible, terrible stuff that they're exposing kids to because it's all about their own gratification. So parents really need to be super intentional, and there's a lot of things I could add to that.
Oh my goodness, we'll have to have another show because this is certainly not going to be enough, but at least it'll create awareness how prevalent this is even now. So when people are going to watch this series that's going to be on A&E on Thursdays, what do you hope they take away from watching the show?
Well, one, I want them to raise their awareness level. This is a situation that is probably known, in the underbelly of society, but it doesn't really get talked about a lot. So if anything, it's going to raise their awareness, it's going to educate them, and it's going to increase their knowledge base. They need to understand what they're going to see are real cases. Nothing here is hypothetical. These are all predators who have done things in the hopes of finding a real kid. And so I think it's going to impact society in a bunch of good, positive ways. I think it's going to really help foster a trust between the community and the way that the ICAC task force as a whole on the nationwide side handles it from a lawful and ethical way that we do that. And it's all in the best efforts to protect kids. That's why we do what we do.
Wow. And again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. But can you share a few warning signs that parents should watch for
Mhm.
that something may not be quite right with their child's online activity, even when they're offline? What can they watch
Yeah.
for?
Sure, absolutely. Listen, parents, you know your kiddos better than anybody. So pay attention to these really significant behavior changes, an attitude drop. Maybe your child's an A student and all of a sudden they're making C's and D's, or maybe their friend group has changed, or, gosh forbid, they were very outgoing and whatnot, and now they're kind of an introvert. Those could be some serious red flags. I'm a big proponent of monitoring what your kiddos are doing. Number two is know how to get to that phone, know how to access that phone, know the passcodes, understand the platforms, know where your kids go. Some of these platforms have almost all of them have chat features. They all have the ability to share videos and pictures. So there's all kinds of communication. Some of them have built-in vaults that might have a different password. So you really need to stay up on this stuff. Have these very safe, very practical, very age-appropriate conversations multiple times with your kiddos. This isn't just a one and done, oh, let's have the talk, right? We're not going to go that route. We would never, as an analogy, we would never give a child that's 10 years old the keys to the car and say, go down to the store and pick up some bread and milk. We would never do that. Yet parents will gladly hand over a computer in the form of a cell phone to their 10-year-old so they can keep in contact with them. And that phone comes along with a lot of responsibilities for this kiddo to ingest. So that intentionality and that trust and that prolonged conversations that are healthy and safe and in a loving way will do exactly what you want. Your kiddo will come to you and say, hey, I'm in a bind. Something happened. I don't really know what to do.
Wow. I want parents to understand how important it is to make sure that the children are feeling like it's a safe place, even with their parents, because they feel like they can't talk to us sometimes. So
Right.
what is one steps that families can take today to better protect their children online? And what would you recommend that step be today?
So I'll give you two things that I would say. One is being intentional about going in and actually doing the monitoring yourself. If you need some help, if you need like a monitoring program that will do things, just don't let that become a replacement for you physically going and looking. Get on the computer, get on there and navigate around, see what you see. Do it at random times. Don't let kiddos take phones into the bathroom. That's like the number one place where we don't want phones because it's the most private place in the house. Um,
Yeah.
Hands down, that's not a really great situation for them. And then three, if they need some resources, I have a page. I do a podcast with my business partner, Brandon Poor, and it's called Catfish Cops. And if you go to catfishcops.com/resources, there are tons and tons of free things. Take anything that you want from there. It's there for anybody to use. There's ways to have little quick conversations. There's tips on how to set the settings on your child's device. If you're not a tech person and you don't understand what Snapchat or Kick or some of these other platforms are, go grab the one-page resource that's on there, set it up what's best for your kiddo, and just have these good, safe, intentional, frequent conversations with your kids.
Absolutely. I'm going to make sure I share that website as well. So I just want to
Sure.
thank you so much for your time today and of course what you do every day. So you share so much insight and I want to thank you for the critical work you and your team are doing to protect
Thank you.
children. So Predator Hunters airs Thursdays at 9 p.m. on A&E. Stay with us. We do have another segment coming up. We'll be right back in just a moment.
Thank you.
Thank you.